You're a miracle worker. No, I missed. Okay, let's go back to the day Mao Bao got into trouble. They brought the premium whiskey to Dekulin, where Angtun was, and handed it over to Mao Mao. In the original novel, Uncle Kai controls the border supply business around Jingmianpo. Simply put, he provides daily supplies to the forces on the Myanmar side. It's easy work, drink, snacks, medicine, things like that. And the profit is huge. A bottle of Coke can sell for 100 yuan. Even a bag of chips starts at 50 yuan. When the original author, Shen Xingxing, first arrived in northern Myanmar, he was happy with this job. He handled the part Dantua was responsible for, called receiving supplies, walking mountain roads for hours, then unloading the goods into a small house. That's it. They supplied drug traffickers without dealing with them directly or touching drugs, and the pay was good. In 6 months, he saved over 100,000 yuan. It sounds simple, but the road is full of trouble. The mountain roads are terrible. You can't drive fast, and there are countless forks. One wrong turn, and you're lost. There are checkpoints everywhere. Sometimes it's government troops, sometimes local militias. You have to explain yourself before they'll let you pass. And sometimes, even after reaching the destination, you still can't find the warehouse. In short, all kinds of accidents can happen, and that's only the supply run. Going deep into the mountains is far more dangerous, because the goods must be delivered deep in the jungle to the actual traffickers. In both the novel and the drama, this job is handled by a mute named Suawan. Since they have to cross the mountains, there are no guides. Change drivers again. Okay. Security at Dekulin was much tighter than usual, obviously because of the armed conflict around Sangkang. At the handoff point, Mafa cut open the carton with a blade. He took out the informant's marked bottle. Both brothers were angry about Angtun's fraud, but it was already too late. Anyway, nobody had gotten sick from the fake liquor before, so they took that bottle, told Moaba to pretend he knew nothing, and moved the shipment to the stable warehouse. That night, after they finished handing off the goods, a flock of crows watched from the branches as the brothers went their separate ways, crying ominously. Later, Dantuo returned to Dabong while Uncle Kai meditated in the shrine. Everyone knew this was bad timing, but Dantuo still told him about the fake liquor. Uncle Kai sighed helplessly. Like a teacher dealing with a hopeless student, he stayed calm on the surface, but his relaxed posture showed he already had plans for Angtun's fake liquor scheme. Unfortunately, Dantua was too blunt to understand his boss's real intentions. Uncle Kai, we had trouble at the border today. New faces were there, and they demanded extra tax. Losing money is one thing, but there's something worse. The liquor supplied to us has a problem. Angton had added a workshop to his garage to make fake liquor and was hiring workers everywhere. Since our liquor has always come from him, how did I wrong you? I had Moma bribe a worker to mark the bottle bottoms. This is the bottle I brought back today. Angton has been cheating us all along. He has no credibility. How much does Angton pay for the stock? And how much does Sangpan charge us? We've worked together for over 10 years and I'm only seeing the truth now. Wuchi-kun, huh? When false becomes true, truth becomes false. Where nothing becomes something, something becomes nothing. Placing that quote here likely has two meanings. First, it echoes Dantuo in the original novel. In the novel, Dantuo also works under Uncle Kai, handling the electronics market. He specializes in smuggling cameras, phones, and other high-end goods. The profit is huge. One run can make over 100,000 yuan. For more money, he sometimes swaps the cargo, passing fakes off as real. He often profits by replacing genuine goods with counterfeits. This directly hints at the deception in this scene and at Uncle Kai's deeper loneliness. In real life, Uncle Kai's prototype was also deeply fascinated by Chinese culture. He could recite more classical Chinese poetry than most Chinese people. The line comes from the first chapter of Dream of the Red Chamber. Zhen Xian dreams at noon, hears two figures talking, and before he can see the jade clearly, he arrives at a strange place. Literally, the line means, when the false is treated as true, truth looks false. Where nothing is made into something, even something becomes nothing. Uncle Kai is warning Dantuo that things aren't always what they seem. Sometimes truth and deception are separated by only a thin line. He wants every brother in Dabang to look beneath the surface. But even Dantuo, who has stayed by his side the longest, never thinks about such philosophy. Dantuo is more like an old-school Hong Kong gangster, always acting on instinct. He doesn't want to understand these twists, and doesn't care to. All he knows is that Angtun has humiliated their people, so he has to win back Uncle Kai's pride. Maybe only the old man by the bamboo hut understands Uncle Kai's loneliness. Just then, Maoba calls. Foreign dog, that old dog of ours killed someone. A Chinese man? Chinese? What happened? Let me see who it is. Shen Xing. This has nothing to do with me. Who are you? Okay, what happened? Moba, talk to me. Moba! Dantuo hurriedly looked toward Uncle Kai. Perhaps this foreshadows a truth too painful for anyone in Dabang to bear. The truth about Uncle Kai and Mooba. No one knew what Uncle Kai was thinking at that moment. Dantuo drove like a madman to the scene. But what awaited him was his younger brother's body. The police handed him Shen Jing's passport. Then Uncle Kai suddenly stabbed Shen Jing's hand. But Uncle Kai already suspected someone else had killed Mooba. As a Buddhist, what he did wasn't only to stop Dantuo from taking an innocent life. More importantly, he was stabilizing his larger plan and putting on a show for Angtun. He wanted to keep Angtun and the fake liquor in play, using a long line to catch a bigger fish. Mountain water is best. River water second, well water last. And even mountain water differs. The clearest comes from the top. Water from the mountain, I use it to make tea. I always use spring water from the mountaintop. A friend who's often invited to tea told me, this line probably comes from two sources. One is a Ming Dynasty treatise on tea. The other is the story of the tea sage Lu Yu choosing water. In ancient times, scholars believed tea could also lead to enlightenment. Lu Yu was one of those legendary figures. He left many views on tea and water. For living water, mountain water is best, river water second, well water last. Among mountain waters, spring water is preferred. From waterfalls or stagnant pools isn't considered good. Legend said Lu Yu could tell midstream water from one sip, or near the riverbank. In this scene, Uncle Kai uses the story to warn Angton. If a tea drinker can tell water apart, then traffickers on the mountain who drink fine liquor like water can certainly taste fake liquor. That's the second meaning of, I only use spring water from the mountaintop. His customers are the very top of Sambiampo's pyramid. Angton, you'd better have the nerve to earn this money. Uncle Kai has seen too much to be fooled. You're good at mixing milk into tea, and you're good with water, too.
你应该被我在行了啊。
Uncle, how do you know our language? Lowering yourself is part of Sambiampo etiquette. When dealing with a leader, you must keep your head slightly lowered so they never have to look up at you. If you're taller, bend your knees and waist. Yet your eyes still have to stay respectful. I really want to ask, how do you manage it? You make watered-down fake liquor here, ship it to the mountains, then it comes back through our supply route. If this blows up, I'll be the one taking the blame in front of your people. I was following someone else's orders too. Border inspections have gotten tighter lately. Getting a shipment through really isn't easy, so I need you to sign a liability agreement. If anyone gets sick from the liquor already sent out, you take full responsibility. Any problem with that? And pay me a deposit first. After that, I'll still buy the goods from you. In just 30 seconds, Angton's brain was nearly fried. He never expected Uncle Kai to let him off so easily. All he had to do was pay a deposit. And Uncle Kai would still buy his liquor for the traffickers. Trying to show gratitude, Angton racked his brain for a Chinese idiom. Thank you for being so broad-minded. Very generous, Uncle Kai. Our liquor is blended strictly according to the formula. It tastes exactly like the real thing. There can absolutely be no problem. I didn't hear what you just said, and you never said it. Sign the agreement. If anything happens, you take the blame. The man who may have killed his brother was smiling right in front of Dan Tuo. Burning with rage, Dan Tuo finally raised the bottle. Ignoring Uncle Kai's warning look, he asked Angton in a low voice, "Who ordered the gum mark under this bottle? Who told you to make that mark?" Angton hesitated, then gave Mooba's name. Dan Tuo's cold stare locked onto him until Angton froze. Then Dan Tuo slammed the bottle back on the table, and looking at Uncle Kai with mixed emotions, said he had to see his mother guarding his brother's body. Uncle Kai said nothing. He only sighed, his eyes unreadable in the dim light. Meanwhile, after stepping outside, Dan Tuo sprinted into the bamboo grove by the river and jumped straight in. Jigu had just thrown Shenjing into the water and was about to relieve himself. Then he saw Dan Tuo drag Shenxing ashore like a demon and was so scared he stopped cold. Dan Tuo roughly forced the water out of Shenxing's lungs. Soon Shenxing groggily came to. He barely felt air return to his chest. Before two hard slaps hit him, a Bluetooth pendant flashed coldly before his eyes. Above it was Dan Tuo's twisted face. Shenxing instantly woke up. Terrified, he realized he was back in the hell of Sambiampo. Yeah, I shouldn't have come. If I'd listened to my uncle and stayed at the site. Those two words made Dan Tuo pause. If he and Mooba had been born in China, maybe they wouldn't have ended up separated forever. That was the place he had dreamed of settling down. Shenxing looked just like the Chinese college backpackers who visited Sambiampo, young, bright, and innocent. It really was hard to believe he was a killer. Seeking the truth, Dan Tuo sent Shenxing back to the site. Then he returned to his brother's memorial tablet, remembering what Mooba had once said by the river. He loaded the gun, bullet by bullet. Meanwhile, after hearing from Jigo that Uncle Kai had pulled Shenxing from the water, Uncle Kai knew Dan Tuo was about to do something foolish. Uncle Kai and Jigo blocked Dan Tuo in front of Mooba's memorial tablet. You found him to shoot him and avenge Mooba, right? Where did you send that Chinese guy? Hey, what are you doing? Shigu, get out and close the door. So, you knew from the beginning, didn't you? Him before the Chinese man could identify Angton. You knew it was Angton. You knew all along. The police and the lock guys were the same. You suspected someone was playing games with the price. Dan Tuo had saved Shenjing and even sent him back, but no one wanted to deal with Jigu now, so he quietly closed the door. Uncle Kai looked exhausted. He understood Dan Tuo's anger and pain, but he didn't know how to make him understand what really mattered and what lay behind it. Under the candlelight, the insects on the wall stayed still, watching them. If something goes wrong, who takes responsibility? I know this is business, but that was my brother. That was Maoba. He was my real brother. I know Maoba was your brother, but what are you going to do? What's the root of this problem? Close the door. The dead are gone, but the living are still here. This was an accident, not the root cause. You didn't even ask me. I had him make that mark because you act too impulsively. The tension of this whole scene is carried almost entirely by the acting. The editor barely cuts at all. The framing only shifts slightly with the dialogue. That quietly pulls the audience into the character's emotions. The scene lasts about 3.5 minutes. Before Zigo leaves, there are at least 2 rhythm points worth noting. The first is a wide shot. Dantua's back blocks Uncle Kai's face under the light. This was likely actor Francis Ng's deliberate blocking to help the later edit. It lets the scene feel even more confrontational before Zigo fully closes the door. But later plot developments reveal another meaning in those few seconds of silence. It gives Uncle Kai a private moment with the dead Mooba and completes his motivation because he knows Uncle Kai feels guilty toward Mooba. And at this moment, there is only one way to stop Dantuo, make him feel guilty about his younger brother. So in this shot analysis, we can see that after Dantuo's voice moves toward the edge of frame, Uncle Kai stares deeply at Mooba's portrait on the wall. Another wide shot cuts in at the emotional peak of the dialogue. Uncle Kai appears pushed to the edge of the frame again by Dantuo, but from beginning to end, he is the one controlling the situation. First, look at the room's lighting. The light is behind Dantuo, leaving his face relatively dim, while Uncle Kai is brighter. Uncle Kai wears white, Dantuo wears black, and white reflects more light. That makes Uncle Kai look brighter and more imposing. At the same time, when filming Dantuo, the camera uses a near-profile angle. This keeps the light on Dantuo's face relatively even, but when filming Uncle Kai, the camera is roughly at a 45-degree angle. That creates a heavy shadow across Uncle Kai's face. Hard light is strongly directional and usually comes from a smaller or more distant source. It creates sharp-edged shadows on the subject. It's ideal for dramatic effects, defining outlines, and emphasizing texture. It increases contrast and depth. Soft light, by contrast, is more diffused. It usually comes from a larger or closer source. It softens shadow edges and lowers contrast, making the image look smoother and warmer. The overhead lamp should be a practical light. It should cast warm light, but the light on Uncle Kai's face is clearly hard, which means the light on his face isn't coming from the lamp above them. Instead, there's a separate frontal light deliberately placed on Uncle Kai, specifically to create a half-lit, half-shadowed face. That deepens the sense that Uncle Kai is impossible to read, while Dantuo's face is lit more evenly and simply, the opposite of Uncle Kai. This design shows that Dantuo is straightforward and uncomplicated. Uncle Kai, meanwhile, is calculating every move in this scene. The amount of screen space each character occupies reflects the power struggle. Sorry, Uncle Kai, I won't follow him. I saw the gun just now. He saw it too. He'll forgive you. Happened that day better than you. Don't rush. The next day, Shen Xing, exhausted after a sleepless night, was dumped at the construction site gate and knocked weakly on the dorm door. He finally woke Guo Limon before collapsing. He couldn't even go to a local underground clinic. Guo Limon hid him at the Xinhao Hotel worksite. He stayed by Shen Jing's side, treating his wounds from day to night. When Shen Jing slowly woke, the site around him was quiet. Only the curtains and branches swayed gently in the cool wind. He couldn't explain the last 2 days to Guo Limon, because he had seen San Bianpo stripped bare, including its darkest and most terrifying corner. Something deep inside Shen Xing began to change. He decided to take Guo Limon's advice and leave San Bianpo. By coincidence, the day he escaped death was also his birthday. Drip, drip, the rain at the site fell bleakly onto the cold concrete. Even Shen Xing had forgotten what day yesterday was. A weak night lamp silently lit his wounds. Under that dim lamp, Guo Limon carefully took out a small rainbow cake and said, "Happy birthday." It was destined to be a sleepless night. No wind, no moon, only dark clouds and distant thunder. Some people lived as usual. Some cleaned their guns before a shrine. Some fled, and some searched for blood-stained money, night after night. The sun rose over Dekulin as usual. Dantuo didn't want to see Angtun, claiming there was no guide. So Uncle Kai sent Shigo to pick up the new batch of fake liquor. You little punk, you're with Dantuo and Debang, right? Hello. A strong story atmosphere depends on carefully designed composition. A director friend once told me, the guardrail on the pickup in this scene was deliberately placed, so Angtun is framed against the distillery gate. It serves two narrative purposes. First, it externalizes Angtun's outward calm but inner tension. Second, it hints at his fate. The fake liquor brings him money, but it also brings danger. No one can fool Uncle Kai. He can't escape Uncle Kai's control, just as he can't escape the cage formed by the guardrail. And when Angtun asks whether Uncle Kai has always been this ruthless, his face moves close to the rail and is partly blocked by it. Like an animal in a cage testing the bars. After getting a reassuring answer, Angtun thinks he'll probably survive. His head moves back toward the center of the barred frame. In his mind, he has returned to safety, but from the cage's point of view, he's still trapped. Fire at the gate! Fire! Unclear local language dialogue. Unclear local language dialogue. Angtun angrily spits his gum into the mud. After everything that's happened, he probably hates chewing gum now. Angtun quickly leaves Dakulin and heads for Xinjiandong's construction site because Xinxing has nowhere else to go. Meanwhile, Dantuo arrives at the stable to make the handoff with Shigo and learns that Angtun already knows Xinxing is still alive. He had wanted to stop pursuing the Angtun matter, but then his elderly mother called. His sister-in-law was gone. Mooba hadn't even been dead a month. By the time Dantuo returned to his hometown, his sister-in-law had abandoned her child with Mooba and taken everything valuable in the house before disappearing. Dantuo's mother, heartbroken, said, she should never have agreed to let Mooba follow his elder brother on supply runs. I never should have let him go. Now he's gone. His wife ran too, and no one's left to raise the child. How are we supposed to live? Mom, don't worry. We'll get through this. Who asked you to cook? She lost a son. The child lost both parents. A family was torn apart because of supplies for drug traffickers. Looking at his young nephew, Dantuo could only force himself to keep going. Meanwhile, Bazige started another day of tormenting Tippin. The more he talked, the angrier he became because the equipment from the construction site was just scrap metal to Mobang locals. He couldn't recover even half of the 1.2 million yuan he'd put in. Just as he was about to beat Tippin to death, Xinxing called the smuggler. As mentioned earlier, when Bazige tortured people in the truck, the inside was lit with warm light, while Xinxing's outdoor scenes mixed cool and warm light. The shot-reverse shot lighting was deliberately reversed. Now they again use warm light for Bazige beating Tippin nearly to death, while Xinxing's phone call is shot in cool blue light. Besides breaking our visual expectations, the contrast hints that this phone call will bring trouble. Hello, is this the guide? Yeah. Where do you want to go? China. Can I leave tomorrow? Sure, just me. How much? 1,000 yuan. There have been a lot of rides these days. It's not convenient to talk here. I'll send someone to get you. 6 tomorrow morning, okay? I'm at the Phase 2 Shinao Hotel site in Xiaomedong. Guo Liman said keep the phone. It was his anyway. Only then does Xinxing remember this was the phone he took from his uncle's safe when he mortgaged the equipment. Guo Liman replaced the battery, said his final goodbye, then left for the night shift. After saying goodbye to his friend, Xinxing called the only number in his uncle's phone. The person answered, said nothing, and hung up. Then the cold automated voice said, the number you dialed is out of service. A heavy sense of unease wrapped around Xinxing and wouldn't leave. Fortunately, The smuggler Tippin introduced had come to pick him up. Shen Jing clearly heard the car tires rolling over the yellow mud. He wanted to dress his wound before leaving, but the driver didn't honk to call him down. Instead, the headlights went dark. Shen Xing was confused when he suddenly heard, in the darkness, the click of a gun's safety. He hid immediately. Whoever had come, they meant trouble. Unclear local language dialogue. Unclear local language dialogue. Shen Xing crouched in the darkness like a frightened guinea pig, cold sweat pouring from his forehead. Yet his mind was rapidly calculating the distance between Angtun and himself. He knew Angtun was scared too. The wild shots exposed Angtun's bluff. Shen Xing ran for his life, only to crash straight into Bazige's arms. Ha! I finally caught you. Nowhere to run. You're finished with us now. Then Bazige and Angton opened fire on each other, giving Shen Xing a slim chance to escape in the end. Using his new comfort in the dark and knowing the sight, he escaped the building. The next second, Dantuo, who had been watching from the sidelines, blocked Shen Xing's way like a ghost and forced him to kill Angtun. I can't kill anyone. If you don't kill him, you can't go back to China. Why don't you kill him? I can't get to him. If you dare run again, I'll cripple you. Shen Xing endured both physical pain and crushing pressure. Threats or not, Shen Xing refused to shoot. He only promised sincerely that he would help get revenge. Only then did Dantuo let him into the car. Open the door! Take me with you! The sudden gunshot left Shen Xing's ears ringing, but it caused no panic around them. Even two children playing by the roadside didn't stop what they were doing. Only then did Shen Xing realize guns were everyday objects in Jimbiampo. On the road, Dantuo kept pressuring him to shoot, while Shen Xing realized Dantuo's thinking wasn't as complicated as he'd imagined. He only wanted Angtun dead without dragging Uncle Kai into it. Shen Xing finally caught on and tried to turn the deadly situation around. Get down. Is that gun big or not? Remember when I pointed at Captain Yang and your boss stabbed me? Is there some special connection between them? I'm asking you one last time. This isn't just about firing a gun. Angton isn't a target standing still, and I don't even know how to shoot. If you want my help, you have to trust me completely. If you keep hiding things, none of this will work, right? If the liquor already sent up the mountain is exposed as fake, someone on the trafficker's side has to take the fall. That's why they keep Angton alive, understand? If the fake lick scheme is exposed, they could kill you too. Angton has the formula, so they still need him. But we can make the traffickers discover the liquor is fake. It already is fake anyway. Then Angton takes the blame, you get revenge, and no one suspects you. Shenjing clutched his wound in pain. He didn't understand why. If they already had a plan, Dantuo still needed him to tamper with the liquor. So Dantuo explained how complicated and dangerous the mountain delivery process was. And after Dantuo promised to help settle his debt, Shenjing reluctantly agreed to join him on the supply run. To keep Shenjing from being hunted down, Dantuo arranged for him to hide in a small bamboo hut by the river until the job was done. They were almost at the traffickers' transfer warehouse. Da Zhuang told Shen Jing to stay hidden. In the darkness, Shen Jing silently reviewed. Dan Tuo's intel ran through his mind. The warehouse bookkeeper was named Yu Deng and spoke several neighboring languages. Another man, Gagun, checked the goods and inspected everything carefully. Any sign that a package had been opened had to be recorded and questioned. So they had to let Dan Tuo's liquor enter the warehouse first, then slip Shen Xing in with it. The warehouse was their only chance. Once Yu Deng finished checking the shipment, nobody would touch it again. After confirming that the others were asleep, Shen Xing quietly emerged from hiding. He mixed methanol into the whiskey. Next day, Dan Tuo came for Shen Xing. After drawing the traffickers away, Dan Tuo told Shen Xing to wait at the entrance, but Shen Xing ran straight into the mute Suowen and had to turn back, pretending to be a lost tourist. Nearby, Dan Tuo's heart was pounding. What are you doing here? Are you lost? You came up here alone? How did a Chinese guy get all the way here? Hiking? Sightseeing? Buying water? Are you lost? Believed him just like that. Even veteran driver Suowen stared in disbelief. Shen Xing got incredibly lucky once again, because Chinese backpackers who love adventure and hiking often wander into remote valleys around Jinbianpo. Locals had already grown used to seeing them, especially young Chinese graduates like Shen Xing. They're easy to spot. Their faces still carry the youth and brightness Jinbianpo lacks. Before long, Shen Xing's act worked. Follow the mountain road down, and you'll reach the village. I always let them taste it first. There's no way they'd know it's fake. The fake liquor scheme is already exposed. Nothing you say matters now. It's over, I killed him. Get him in the car. Didn't I always tell you not to rush? You didn't need to act. Tie him up. I misjudged him. Welcome. Don't step over the yellow line. Uncle Kai watched Dan Tuo hurry away and let out a deep sigh. Then he took the gun Yu Deng handed him and gave it to Suowen, warning him to stay safe on the road. Dan Tuo went to the bamboo hut for Shen Xing. Shen Xing was now the supply chain. His debts and bounty topped 2 million yuan. That was enough to trade with Fourth Master for a new route. What are you doing? I helped you this much, and this is how you repay me. Shen Xing realized he'd trapped himself. He thought helping Dan Tuo get revenge would let him escape safely, but Dan Tuo turned around and sold him out. They were like black and white pieces on a chessboard, each taking the other's pieces. But Shen Xing forgot that in Dabang there had only ever been one real player. At sunset, Uncle Kai sent Shigo and the others. They tied up Shen Xing and took him to the villa. Unclear local language dialogue. Spring rain fell as Uncle Kai stared at a poppy field on the shaded slope. Why choose poppies? Capital comes into the world dripping blood and filth from every pore. I wonder if anyone still remembers that the drug problem in Sambiampo began with British colonialism. In the early 19th century, Britain controlled India and began pushing east. Before the armies moved, the drugs came first. By 1825, the British were already smuggling opium into China on a large scale. Then they discovered the fertile Golden Triangle, over 1,000 meters above sea level, cold and dry in winter, but often foggy, perfect for growing poppies. From then on, hell took root here. To locals, hell would look like a poppy pod. Poppies are easy to grow here. Once planted, you mostly just wait and harvest. Little plowing or weeding is needed. Even the dead roots become fertilizer. Wealth comes too easily. That is one reason Jinbianpo remains locked outside the civilized and peaceful world. But in this savage jungle world, a lonely elderly Chinese man met a fool named Shen Xing. Chinese boy, of course I've seen you. Something went wrong with the goods sent up the mountain. Tell me what happened. You showed up at the warehouse and later at the prison. Dan Tuo was there both times. He told you to do it, didn't he? You couldn't have done this alone. Bo couldn't have done it alone either. The only possibility is that the two of you worked together. They planned to take you away. I really didn't know. Uncle Kai had already worked out the truth, but he still pulled out a gun to interrogate Shen Xing. After 2 shots, Dan Tuo shut his eyes tightly. If he could choose, he didn't want this young man to die. Do whatever you want with me, but he doesn't have to die. It definitely wasn't you. You're not clever enough. Do you even know when people are using you? I was the one using him. If I didn't get rid of Angtun, I'd fail my family. Arguing about the case is pointless. I may have wronged you, but Angtun had to die. He brought this on himself. He deserved it. Without him, we can still find another route. This is my territory. The border to Kulin gets tighter every day, and the fees keep rising. If this continues, Debong's business won't survive. Even the middlemen and the money behind them are getting harder to track. There are too many unknowns. We don't have time to find another supplier. Dan Chuo hesitated, then admitted he had planned to trade Shen Xing to Fourth Master for a new route. After Ma Jie's death, Fourth Master had become the biggest border trade boss in the area. His liquor moved through Fourth Master's channels, and the Chinese boy was basically collateral. He owed over 1,000,000 yuan, and people were hunting him.
我今天就是准备把他拉过去换酒，可是你现在把他杀了，我也没得办法。
This is Sambiampo. Let me ask you something. Angtun's story was fake from the start, and I knew nothing. Don't you know Chinese people are smart? Smart people speak smartly. How many people were in that last line? You fired 2 shots and he didn't even flinch. I understand now. You can take him and trade him for liquor. Whether you want to or not is up to you. Shen Xing looked like a piglet for sale. He stared at Mooba's smiling photo, unsure how long he'd been played. Half-conscious, he saw Dan Tuo push the door open. Dan Tuo had already sold him out once, but the naive Shen Xing still placed his hopes on this man who had risked everything to avenge his brother. He never expected Dan Tuo to sell him out again. You came in broad daylight to trick me. You think you can fool me? Taozi brought a whole truckload of pineapples today. You'll get your fill soon enough. Bazige's slaps and the pineapples shattered Shenxing's last hope. His consciousness began to fade. Before blacking out, he couldn't understand why Uncle Kai was rubbing something on his face, or why Dantuo smiled at him. But instinct told him the danger had passed. I can deduct it from your pay on the border runs. One run pays 20,000 yuan with a 2,000 yuan driver commission. You owe 660 runs. It'll take about 2 or 3 years before you start earning for yourself. You wanted to buy me long ago. If it weren't for this, is it heavy? Is this your revenge, or am I your shield? By day, they're buying you. By night, they're helping you.